I go 1 month. I go 1 month without being able to see Manchester United play. I come on here, dust off the Logitech, update the OBS, and this is what I get: a 2-1 loss at the hands of Leeds United. Guys, there's been such a kind of overarching theme over the tenure of Michael Carrick, and I did a little bit of research before I pressed record here. Did you know that in 7 of the 11 games that Carrick has managed for Manchester United during his second stint, they've either involved a late goal, a red card, or a penalty? Most of them have involved at least two of those things. 7 of the 11 matches. And so this is why when people talk about Carrick, the long-term prospects of being a manager, I just don't buy in. Because under Carrick, there has been almost no kind of wire-to-wire matches where there hasn't been like a game state tectonic shifting event. Today, a red card against Lissandro Martinez, which I'll get onto in a little bit. But just when I see the lack of consistency throughout this team, and especially the sluggish starts, this match, in my opinion, was lost within the first 25-30 minutes because here's kind of what happened. Leeds recognized that the two fullbacks they were going after go by names of Nusayr Mazraoui and Luke Shaw. Listen, I think Mazraoui offensively is a great asset. Defensively, a little shabby. On the other side, Luke Shaw. I think getting past Luke Shaw is actually a pretty difficult task. But once you're past him, you're in the clear. Then you put the ball into the middle. Oh, who United's two center backs today? Probably the most confidence-depraved center back in Europe, in Euro, and then Lissandro Martinez. And as much as I love Martinez, he's just coming back from an injury. And I know this back line for United tonight, it was a makeshift back line, injuries and suspensions. I get it. But it can't excuse how poor United were in that first half. It simply can't. Guys, Leeds recognized that we had a weak back line and just attacked it, and they circumvented every single attack down the left or down the right and pushed it into the middle of the Calvert-Lewin. And, their first goal in the 5th minute, Luke Shaw having to get pushed out wide, and then a Leeds runner cuts inside. Ugarte doesn't follow correctly. Ball into the middle. Goal Leeds. 20 minutes later, I see the most calamitous defense of all time. It almost reminded me of, 6 years ago when Spurs beat United, but was at 6-1. And just like there are moments where the ball was like in midair and half the team didn't even know. It's like they'd never even seen a football before. They were like, oh, we're supposed to kick this. That's kind of what it reminded me for that second goal. I mean, the ball finally lands at the feet of Lissandro Martinez. Leeds initiate a press. It was already bobbling around, but Martinez gets a foot on it. Leeds initiate a press. And Lissandro Martinez, the genius that he is, and I don't even know if I meant that in a sarcastic way because I actually do think he's a smart footballer, but he makes the worst passing decision possible and just shuffles it to the 34-year-old Casemiro, whose back is turned away. So he's facing Lamens. Ball goes to Casemiro as a Leeds player is pressing him. So Martinez sees this, and to make it worse, Casemiro looks to the left when the defender's coming to his right, and almost loses the ball. It bounces around. Noah Okafor makes it 2-0 in 25 minutes. It's just so sluggish. And guys, I know we've only played 40 games. I know I've gone a month without making a video because that's how long we haven't played. I get that. Spare me those details. But there has to be something we can do. Like, this is where, unfortunately, the blame kind of goes to Carrick. Run a million behind closed door friendlies. I don't care if it's against, my local youth rec soccer team. I do not care. Do whatever you can to get these guys as match fit as possible. And that's been a problem, by the way, not just today, but for nearly every single match. Go back and look at my videos and see how often I have mentioned the fact that we started the first half sluggish. So Leeds already had it won 20 minutes in. 25, excuse me. But I'm looking at the offense. I'm looking, all right, who in our attack is going to produce some creativity? Bruno was almost a non-factor in that first half. Ahmad, I thought, was really our only attacker who was con- consistently creating, had a couple good counterattacks. Sesko missed a very big chance. Cunha, you would have been forgiven for thinking he was a ghost out there in that first half. Our midfield didn't really have much of a factor. There was no spark, there was no creativity. Our only kind of successful, consistent route was just trying to press the Leeds backline up front and then put the ball in behind. Just arching long balls from Lissandro or whoever was back there. Sometimes those Casemiro. That was our only route of success. And I mean, it obviously didn't work. But going into the second half, I thought to myself, okay, it really can't get much worse. You want to know why? Because what's worse than this is hell. So it really cannot get much worse. Sure enough, 12 minutes into the second half, however long it was, Lissandro Martinez gets booked for one of the most ludicrous challenges or calls I've ever seen in my whole entire life. He gets a red card for quote pulling down Dominic Calvert-Lewin by the hair, yanking him down. Guys, please, just please rewatch that footage and honestly tell me where Martinez does anything more than lay a hand on the head of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Like this is just there's such there's almost like just because there's a slightest instance of something, it's taken to the maximum. There's no middle ground. It's like if you barely did it, then you absolutely did it. Because I feel like if you want to get that a foul, sure. A yellow card would sound kind of ridiculous, but sure. But no, because this is what's deemed as a whatever serious offense. Because at one point in time, I'm sure someone has maliciously pulled someone down by the hair. So now, by every single time it happens, every single time it slightly happens, it gets called a red card. Like, this is why you just need certain levels to these fouls. Anyway, Martinez gets sent off. He was having a pretty bad game anyway. But that whole entire second half, we knew what it was going to be. You don't need a genie to tell you that it's going to be obviously not Lissandro, Casemiro or Bruno or Ahmad or whoever's out there just heaving passes, heaving diagonals into the box, heaving crosses into the box, doing whatever you can. And, we get the first goal. Ahmad takes a flat corner, bounces out to Bruno. Bruno gets a 17th assist of the season, a beautiful cross to the back post, to Casemiro to make it 2-1. And you have that belief. But you know what's going to happen. It's just going to be the same thing again and again and again. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin made two tremendous saves. The first, off the Casemiro header towards the back post, makes a goal-saving challenge with his head. 2 seconds later, another great save, thanks to a Ugarte scissor kick off the ground. It was actually a really nice shot. Gets two saves in like 5 seconds and also draws a red card. He had probably the biggest impact out of anyone today, did Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and for all of the unexpected reasons. But just in general, like this team, they're just so flat because there's always something going on. There's always an extenuating circumstance of Man United, whether it's for or against them under Carrick. And it just doesn't sit right with me in the long term. And I do have to give Leeds credit. I think something that I kind of jotted down during the match, and I'm interested to see how much this makes sense when I actually say it, but it felt like they did a really good job of just playing where the ball was going. If there was an opportunity, if the ball was rolling in front of them and there was an opportunity for a counterattack, they would immediately attack. But if it was kind of stalling and they looked up at the clock and saw there was 10 minutes left, they're up by one goal, they would calm it down. I think Brandon Aronson had a fantastic match. I think Wilfred Gnonto off the bench, fantastic match. And I'm looking at United and I'm just going, no one today really did their job. Sunday Lemons had a couple good saves. I don't think really he was to fault for any of the goals. Linioro, a really, really poor second season. And I hate to say that. I love him. But just not a great second season. Martinez was awful, but shouldn't have gotten sent off. Maybe he should have, based off of just his performance. Shaw, not great. Mazraoui, not great. Casemiro, a shell of himself. Bruno, he gets an assist, but not the Bruno that we typically have seen so far this season, not the player of the year Bruno like we expected to see. Ahmad, I thought, did fine. Cunha, as the second half wore on, did a little bit better. Sesko, okay. And Bueno off the bench, okay. It felt like when we were pushing for that second goal in the final 15, 20 minutes, it just felt like the camera was constantly panning towards him, and the ball was just a little bit outside of his feet. He just had to extend that bit more. The attacks were slowing down when they reached the feet of Mbuemo. Ugarte, I'm not even gonna give a review for him. This video might get shadow banned if I do. Just poor, and like I know it comes down to fitness, match sharpness. I know Leeds, they just played and beat West Ham at the weekend in the FA Cup, and I really want to believe that if that was United, if United had put themselves through to the FA Cup semifinal, then today they would have had a lot more fire, just a lot more general sharpness. But I can't. I really can't, and I can't because so many of these games have relied on the unreliable. And there have been good moments in Carrick's tenure, and I ultimately do believe we'll probably finish third, at least fifth. I mean, it would take a disaster for us to finish fifth, but we should be finishing at least fifth. Hope for third. Hope to get above Chelsea and Liverpool, but I mean, it's somewhat of a daunting road. I know their next two games. It's Chelsea on Saturday, which now it's probably a good time to play them because Rosdinier, or however you say his name, is not having a great time. And then it's Liverpool the following Sunday, which is a coin flip at Old Trafford. I mean, I remember the last time I actually thought United were favored to beat Liverpool. We lost, 7-0? So who really knows what that match is going to turn into. So, yeah, I don't know, guys. It's frustrating, but we have to move. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your month off. I'll talk to you all soon. God bless.